Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be bringing you a comprehensive review of the SOMUA SM Premium French Heavy Tank. I'll go over everything about it, including its stats, roles, some quick tips and tricks on how to best utilize it, its strengths and weaknesses, and then give a final recommendation of if the vehicle and its pack contents that it comes with are worth purchasing. This said, you know the drill. Subscribe if you like this video and would like more content. But that also being said, I would just like to give a huge special thanks to the Big Cheese for collaborating with me on this video. He's an ultra cool dude and has his own gameplay footage from the matches that we used to get footage for this video. He did better than I did in those matches, so if you like my gameplay in this video, definitely check him out because he's probably got even better gameplay footage with the SOMUA SM, and don't forget to subscribe to him. I've linked him in the description, in a comment, and mentioned him elsewhere. That said, let's get into the review. So to start, let's go over its stats. It has for hull armor 150mm, 40mm, and 40mm front, side, and rear armor. And for turret armor, 120, 60, and 40, again front, side, and rear. It also has a crew of 5, an autoloader with 8 shells in the magazine plus 1 in the cannon breech, a reload speed of 4 seconds and about 23 seconds per shell to replenish the autoloader magazine once it's depleted, and a 41 km/h top speed. Additionally, it features a maximum penetration of 273mm of armor. So let's get into the roles, and this tank is first and foremost a brawler. Between its heavy frontal armor on the turret and upper glacis, the SOMUA SM is made to be played aggressively. If you are in a down tier, especially where you're the top BR vehicle in a match, this will make you extremely dangerous and a shoo-in to do very well unless you get hit on the side of the tank where your armor is at its lowest. This weakness aside, if you can avoid being flanked or exposing your sides, you will dominate in close range engagements. It's not uncommon to get 1, 2, 3 or more kills in rapid succession with the SOMUA SM. It can happen so quickly that you'll wonder what even happened. Between the potency and armor pen of its cannon, it is absolutely devastating in this role. On the flip side, you will run out of shells in the autoloader magazine if you get too aggressive, which, if you're behind enemy lines or in an active firefight, you'll end up as a big target with no defense. You can act like a sniper, such as what the Tiger II can do, but your 100mm cannon is not nearly as accurate, and while you can still hit those long-range shots, the dispersion on your shots does not make hitting anything beyond 0.75 kilometers, especially small target areas, a guarantee. Finally, because this tank is actually fairly mobile, at least when not considering hills and other rough terrain, it can be used almost as a heavy flanker. You'll be able to move nearly as quickly as some early cold bore heavy tanks and even some medium tanks of that BR range. It can feel sluggish moving up hills and is not agile at a standstill, being that it does not have neutral steering, but you can still do quite well to flank and spank to get behind enemy lines and do good damage to the enemy team. Just mind your magazine and try to reload it whenever possible. The SOMUA SM is only able to reload about 3 shells per minute when not firing, so make sure to give yourself some downtime between fights. Being a brawler, heavy flanker, and occasional long-range engager / sniper are basically what this tank does, I'll get into some quick tips for how to use the SOMUA SM as well. First, play to your strengths. Don't get too far ahead of your team, but also don't stay far behind. This is especially important in flanking in some capacity. If you can be at or near the front, you should be able to take out numerous tanks with ease. While in these engagements, try to limit exposure to your sides and only slightly angle your frontal hull armor, as angling too much will expose your weak side armor. Even if your side armor is at a high angle, it will still be easy to pen for most enemies. Finally, if possible, give yourself time to reload the autoloader between engagements. I know I've mentioned this just a moment ago, but it is incredibly important when using the SOMUA SM. If you're more judicious with how you fire your shells and where you fire them, you'll be better prepared for the next fight than someone who fires blindly or someone who fires just to check if something's there or not. If you really want to see where an enemy tank is, just use your coaxial LMG. Now with its roles and some tips out of the way, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses, and as always I like to start off with the strengths. So first, it has an amazing reload speed, sitting at 4 seconds with the autoloader. The great thing is that while there are shells in the magazine, it will always fire this quickly, regardless of the skill of your or status of your crew. So one crew member might be dead and it won't really matter. It also has good armor, especially on the turret face. The armor layout of the turret, especially considering that it's an oscillating turret, makes it difficult for enemies to pinpoint a weak spot, even if they have sufficient armor pen. Also, for the aforementioned reasons, along with its great shell pen, the SOMUA SM is one of the best brawlers in War Thunder at any BR. It also has good optics, maxing out at around 6x zoom, which is in the middle to lower upper range of many tanks in this BR, which is excellent, especially if you're looking to engage from medium to long range. It also has a fairly good turret traverse, especially for a heavy tank. It has a good top speed of around 40 km per hour, which is pretty darn good for a 60-ton vehicle from this BR, this era, and for a heavy tank. And finally, the SOMUA SM has premium bonuses, which give you more RP and Silver Lions per match. And if that wasn't enough, you get 1,000 Golden Eagles for the purchase of this pack and a full week of premium time. Now this said, you can't have strengths without weaknesses, and this tank sits at a similar BR with Leopards and other tanks that can carry Heat FS, which negates its heavy armor and turns it into a liability and dead weight. Also, to this point, it is a bit slow to initially accelerate, at least when compared to other tanks around this BR. Also, getting it to speed on poor terrain can be a hassle. The SOMUA SM is also very large, which makes it easy to hit and difficult to conceal. Also, once the autoloader is exhausted of its 8 shell capacity, it will take a substantial amount of time to load a new shell to the magazine, again taking around 23 seconds. During this time, you will essentially be a large, defenseless target. Sometimes the autoloader can also be a weakness even if you have shells in the magazine. If you fire too quickly without taking too much consideration into aiming, you can run out of ammo in the magazine within 36 seconds, while a more accurate tank like the Tiger II will still be plugging along normally and accurately. Also, in relation to the cannon, it has mediocre ammo options. It only has access to AP and HE, while they can be potent, have limited post-pen and post-hit characteristics. Like most French tanks, the accuracy of the SOMUA SM is suspect at best and mediocre at worst. Though it is substantially more accurate than lower BR French vehicles with oscillating turrets, such as the AMX-13 F11, it still will not be nearly as accurate as similar BR German, American, and British tanks, for example. Though side armor tends to be poor on most tanks, the SOMUA SM takes it to another level when compared to other heavies. Its side armor is 40mm, which leaves you vulnerable to nearly every enemy that can successfully flank you. A well-placed SPAA can chew up the SM from the side with ease. And finally, the reverse speed is poor, which, when combined with its large size, can make getting out of trouble very difficult. In my experience, you really don't get anywhere above 5 km per hour reverse speed, which is around Panther levels. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the final recommendation of if you should purchase this tank or not. So personally, I find that the SOMUA SM is, for all intents and purposes, one of the most fun, versatile, and profitable heavy tanks in the entire game. Between the unique design of the SM, especially considering its oscillating turret, its amazing 4-second reload speed paired with its devastating cannon, a heavy frontal armor, and good speed, this tank is thoroughly one of the best purchases that I feel that I've ever made in War Thunder. It has everything that most people would want in a tank and more. Of course, it does have its weaknesses such as side armor and poor low speed agility, but this tank has good enough strengths that it overcomes these and other flaws. The burst fire potential on this tank is hardly rivaled by any tank of any BR in all of War Thunder, and I don't think that'll change anytime soon. It is extremely forgiving for beginners and greatly rewards experienced use. When combining the 1000 GE and 1 week of premium time, I would definitely feel comfortable purchasing this tank with or without a sale. This is one of only a small amount of vehicles that I feel is worth purchasing entirely, regardless of if you're purchasing it at a discounted rate or at full price. Not only this, but it is a great way to grind through the French ground tech tree, which in my experience is one of the most fun tank tech trees to play, especially from the B1 Terror through around 8.0 BR. While the SM is not some miracle tank, I feel that regardless of if you're relatively new to the game, an experienced player, or someone in between, you'll be able to get a lot of fun and a lot of use out of this awesome vehicle. But that all said, thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and also to check out the Big Cheese on YouTube. Big thanks again to him for helping out with this video. Either way, thanks again all for watching. I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.